Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about social media and the balance between personal and professional life. Welcome back in our new setting. This is much better actually, lots of greenery. We thought we would have a chat today about social media and its impact on the work life and how where that balance comes now, I guess, because it's pretty much blurring the lines now, isn't it, in terms of personal branding, how it's used in social media, how we're engaging with people on our social media accounts, and then how that relates to our work, I guess. So do you want to give us a bit of historical context, Natalie, about like how have companies dealt with this in the past? What have been the expectations, and what have been like the policy approaches to this?
I think before, probably you might agree or disagree, but personal life and your work life are two very different things, weren't they, really?
Yeah.
Has the pandemic changed that? What's changed that? Has all these different platforms changed this that might be used for a variety of things as well? And we can certainly delve into that in a wee moment. But it's certainly the gap's getting smaller or blurred or grey or whatever you want to call it, but the gap is definitely getting smaller between you and the professional and you and the personal with everything else, isn't it? For example, if you think as well, if we were on a Zoom call, you would see...
That's a good point.
You would maybe see my house, the picture that I've got above. You're getting an inshot into that, where before I would have turned up to the office and you wouldn't know what colour the walls were, what I had at home. You might even get an inshot into my friends and my family or pets or whatever's knocking
Kids
about in the background.
Absolutely,
at the time, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
So this is... The realms are very, very different now.
Yeah. I guess, obviously working from a marketing point of view, you're thinking about your own personal brand, and now people are becoming influencers in different sectors, in different areas. So maybe they work for a bank, but they do marketing on the side, or they're really interested in sports, so they've got their own TikTok account or YouTube account. So I guess the balance, because it's in their own time, they can do what they want, can't they? Essentially, but then do represent. Well, this is the question.
Can they? Absolutely, can they?
I don't know. Can you still represent your organisation in a professional manner, but have your own social media account that promotes sport or promotes your own interests? Everybody's got their own interests outside. So what's to stop them, and where do employers draw the line? Can they draw the line? Yeah,
and I think that traditional kind of social media policy that people wrote maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago is outdated. People need to bring that back out again.
Yeah. Really
test it, look at it and see, do we need to adapt this? Particularly if you are mentioning certain social media sites, how much has it evolved now, isn't there? Like, there's so many more, isn't there?
Well, somebody could be working for a bank and have an OnlyFans account. They could have,
absolutely, if they choose to do so. And
absolutely.
I think maybe you might agree, disagree, like Facebook before was all about the personal Ewan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was all about what he's doing as a dad, what is he doing cooking, what is his hobbies and his passion.
Yeah.
LinkedIn was mainly before about business Ewan.
Yeah.
And only business Ewan.
Yeah.
But you are now seeing even that, the realms of that slightly different now,
It's
isn't
changed,
it?
Isn't it?
You've got people posting their kids' first day at school or what they're cooking for their dinner, and that's not for everybody, but certainly. And then from a marketing perspective, we're all about the personal brand as well, aren't we?
Well, absolutely. And I think because you can bring that personal brand into your business. Now, it depends what your job is, obviously, but one of the interesting things I've been reading about is the lack of soft skills, or the people they don't come to the office with them, but they come with skills that are different. They've got these personal brands they've developed in these different areas, and that can really benefit your business if you're looking for business development or contacts and so on. But on the flip side, you have to represent your company in a professional manner, and sometimes that might dip between the two.
Absolutely,
those lines have definitely blurred, because I know certainly, again, just thinking from a marketing point of view, people need to be on the edge a wee bit to gain some traction.
Out there, absolutely.
If you've got a TikTok account and you're very professional on it, and you're very staid, and
you're not going to get what you need from it, are you? You're not going to get. So we've got the Facebook and LinkedIn, which in the past were quite separate. Then we throw in TikTok, where do we even start with TikTok? Like you said, if you want it to be effective, you're the marketing expert, but you're probably doing all the wee quirky things.
Yep.
is that in line with the company policy? If you're working in a bank, are you being professional by dancing about to whatever in the background? But maybe that's also what's needed.
And millions of people could be following you doing that, and so then...
Or like you said, your account is linked up to another account, which could be your evening job, which might be maybe not desirable for a professional in a bank. If it's linked there, then again, where and what control does the company have? So what control does a company have over the employee in terms of what they're using and not? So get that social media policy out that you had previously written 6 years ago, 7 years ago, refresh it completely. Is this still fit for purpose? Yeah. Because chances are it's not going to be. It's not going to be,
is it? I mean, that's the thing. And so where do we start with that? I mean, obviously coming and speaking to someone like yourself and just saying, right, we need something that's appropriate. And I guess the point here is it appropriate for our business? If I'm a marketing agency, then actually I need people out there promoting themselves, promoting their brand, building themselves up. Because I know a lot of marketing is about building communities. And again, that's essentially what people are doing. But if I'm a bank, do I need my employees? So I guess the policy has to adapt based on what your business is. And it's quite a complex area, isn't it? So is it a case of just looking at your own values, your own direction, your own purpose as an organisation and thinking, right, how do we reflect that?
Just getting some advice to make sure what's written down. And you made a really good comment about, well, it's outside the workplace, so it's okay. Is it?
What,
you are doing it in your own time, etc. But there are many cases where, although it was maybe in the evening, it's still considered unlinked because it's during the course of employment. So actually, not always an employee might think that. Does your policy actually state that as well? So if you do have a TikTok account that's linked in any way, there might be TikTok accounts there that's not linked to what you do at all, and that's okay. But there might be that one that is something is linked, or you've been in the uniform by mistake doing your TikTok. Like we've heard all those stories, haven't we? You've been in the uniform of your company, doing something maybe that's maybe a wee bit not quite in line with the company values or what they stand for or against what they stand for.
I mean, there's people, professionals in their uniform, clearly identifiable in their uniform.
Absolutely.
Doing things on TikTok. Now, I guess, I mean, has it always been the balance between you can do whatever you want outside work, or has there always been, I mean, these social media policies have come in to say you represent the organisation at all times? Is that the case? Or is it, I mean, it's really hard balance.
It's very difficult. It is, because at the end of the day, we're shouting about kind of people being individuals, people having a privacy life and a home life, and it's very, very difficult. But is it out in the public domain there as well? But really drilling right into your policy in terms of what do you stand for, and telling people as well, educating so that people know what is. And if you want to maybe do that dance that's a bit whatever, maybe not with your uniform on, etc., or not with a company van in the background or whatever, so there is absolutely no link, but that person is still entitled in their own free will to do that dance or whatever they're doing.
Absolutely.
Or make a complete fool of themselves, but as long as it's not maybe linked to
the company,
the organisation might be your rule. So it's maybe sitting in properly, not just having something written down, but actually something meaningful, but something that you can work with and everyone knows as well.
Yeah, because again, the other side, obviously we're talking about it being a wee bit risky, some of the stuff being a bit risky, but the other side of this is that a number of people use their own personal profile to benefit the business.
Absolutely.
I know for a long time, and certainly in tech and digital, the startup space, people use Twitter a lot, because they used it individually to go out and build relationships with people. So should that be factored into your policy? Should that be factored in there that, where does that balance come?
Because we're shouting for people to be individuals, aren't we? And we're shouting them to say, actually, we want the company, we actually want your personality to be out there. But how do we do that without? It's such a funny area at the moment, isn't it? And it's getting more blurred with the likes of TikTok, with Instagram, with all the. Before, when we only had the likes of LinkedIn and Facebook, it was hard enough. But now, what are we saying? What is our stance? And how do we put that in writing, and then how do we communicate it out as well, and how do we keep on top of it, because it just keeps evolving. And like you said, if other accounts are linked to other things that maybe are not ethical with the company, how do we prevent that? Is that okay? There are a million questions for social media, and that gap now is...
It's getting less and less.
It's getting less and less.
Because I suppose the other thing is that you want to be an inclusive organisation. You want people to come and express themselves. And on one hand, you can't say, come and express yourself and be part of this organisation and be inclusive and bring your ideas to the table. And your ideas might be off the wall, but that's where innovation comes from.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, that, innovation could be driven through some of these social channels. It could be driven through these ideas and concepts that they get from pushing out there. So it's such a fine balance. So I suppose if I'm going to write up my social media policies, are kind of 2 or 3 steps that we need to really drill down into. What are the core things that people should be looking for?
Make it unique and bespoke. So
Yeah.
don't be considering other organisations what they have.
Yeah.
Really engage the expert to see what you need as a business, because you're that banking professional to that marketing agency to recruitment company, whatever that is, they've all got their own spin.
Yeah.
And there might be other legal restrictions for a bank, for example, that don't apply elsewhere, that there's maybe a wee bit more rules in place or things that they need to think about. So it's really making it bespoke, workable.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't say trap it down. You cannot be an individual in any of these things. You cannot have any social media accounts. You cannot do this. Obviously, there's differences. Kind of teachers, you'll see they've never really got their own name there. There's lots of kind of speculation behind social media in that profession as well. A legal advisor, would you want to see what their evening job is if it was maybe something that wasn't in line? So we just need to be very, very careful, but really get that advice before you, because that's your policy that you abide by, and that's what you stand by, but you can't be too restrictive either.
Yeah, because teaching's a really interesting one. Like, you don't want your pupils essentially to see some of the stuff you've got on there, so your privacy policies have to be so nailed on. But how do you control that? And how and they bring different things. I mean, essentially, it could be a musician, a musical teacher who's wanting to make sure that they're using their social channels to promote what they do. I mean, I know my son plays football, and football coaches will be on there putting on their football drills and so on. So they want that to be out there. So maybe a PE teacher would be the same, but then maybe a history teacher wants to talk about history and talk about these things. So
but
there's a real positive there.
Going to be happy that there are 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds
watching their channel.
That could be great for your business. It could be detrimental to your business. It could be non-ethical. It's all that stuff that actually. But you're right, you need to be very careful in terms of your policy. Don't be naming all the different channels, because it's evolving every day, isn't it? What's the new thing that's out? Threads, is that in people's social media? So they could do something on Threads, and then an employee could say, well, it doesn't mention Threads, then it mentions LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever else, but Threads isn't there. So be careful about what you're also stating in terms of the different channels. It might just be something that encompasses them all, and make sure it's bespoke. Make sure you're not restricting people's personal and privacy life either. That's
a really good point, actually. If you mention certain channels in there and they jump on the latest one that's just come out, well, you never said. That is tough.
And make sure that employees are aware, although it is out at working hours, on their own PC, in their own time at night, sitting munching popcorn while they're doing so, completely outside of the work, it can still link back to during that course of employment. Right, okay. So that's the thing, actually, is just being really explicit about where this counts, I suppose, and what the level of expectations. Yeah, and that is hard. Yeah, because like you said, I'm on TikTok at 3 a.m. That's nothing to do with work. Yeah, but actually, your account is linked some way to the job that you do, and you're posting views maybe that the organisation doesn't represent, or whatever the situation is, or something quite explicit. You can see where, as a business owner, you would be a bit stressed out that, because if someone got hold of that information, next thing you're on the front of the paper and you're stressed out your head, and what am I doing here with? So have you been quite clear for people as well? It's a whole explosive area, and I think the likes of all these different channels that are coming out, it just blurs it so much.
And see, if I'm a company leader or HR director or whatever, should we be having regular sessions on this and just making people aware and talking through the policy? Because policies can be a little dry sometimes, so maybe sitting reading through that.
Absolutely, they'll be bored to tears at times. So kind of putting it into real life examples, or kind of showing, rather than sitting talking A to Z through the policy. The policy is there to read, but what examples or what problems or what are we maybe doing, or helping people in the right direction in terms of maybe what they do outside of work. But we need to be careful, because people have their own life as well outside of work. So,
well,
It's a great area. A great area in terms of topic of conversation, lots to think about. Tested and tribunal with activity outside of work all the time.
Yeah.
And but that reputational damage could be massive, isn't it?
Are you getting a lot of people coming and asking you about this? Is that quite a key topic just now?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about where are the realms? Like, can I say that they can't post on social media?
Yeah.
Well, can you? Exactly. You can never post on social media. Some companies just maybe want to protect what they do, so there can't be any link to the company that you work for. You can say who you are, but maybe no link to the company at all in the event worst case goes, because it's not even sometimes about what you post. Someone could tag you in something that you have nothing to do with, and then the next thing your company's dragged into this, and nobody remembers the name. See, newspaper articles, if something's went wrong or somebody said a comment, it's never Ewan Anderson, it'll be the company that's at fault. It's never the person, so you can see the danger.
And it goes both ways, because it can explode so quickly, you know, because that's the nature of social media. But on the flip side, it can be, you know, like you say, nobody remembers the individual, they just remember the company, you know, and that's it. You know, it's forgotten about. So yeah, it's such a difficult area, because it touches on so many different areas with this inclusion, and you know, you want to be that organisation that brings people in and lets them be themselves, you know.
And then you've got the new kind of employees that their life is social media, everything they do. So if we do have certain policies that are restricting things, they're going to be like, oh God, I can't post about that today. But they're used to it, it's just natural. They post about everything, they post about their dinner, they post like whatever they're doing for the day. And actually, are you maybe restricting some stuff for work there as well, to shout out about what you guys do as well? Well,
that's it, because that's how they've built their community, that's how they've built their following, is just to talk about themselves, even if it's just a picture of themselves that day. You know, that's how they build it. Obviously, we talked about the fact that there's loads of channels. People are on all these channels. They're on lots of them, or they're on none of them. How do companies stay on top of it? I mean, do you have people looking at this? Is there a kind of social listening tool that people are using? Or is it just a case of, here's the policy, trust them to do what you expect them to do?
It would be lovely, here's the policy, trust them to do what you say that you're going to do. Some organisations probably need to have a wee bit more security in place, not security, but a wee bit more monitoring. So they might have some software that can just ping up to them daily alerts in terms of where the company name is featured, and make sure it's okay. Or is there anything else that you're aware of that companies are using at the moment?
It's because a lot of the social media planning tools will have social listening part of it. And the bigger organisations, enterprise size organisations, will have social listening, and Google Trends, Google Alerts and so on can definitely let you know, but that's more announcements within the press rather than social media. But yeah, I think
more people will ask for those. Like, do you think it will become a bigger trend, or? I
think it has to be. I think you know, in bigger organisations, I don't know. I mean, we obviously work with a lot of SMEs that probably don't have the scale and size of marketing team, or you know, it might be something that's a balance between the marketing team and say the legal team or the HR team, where we need this monitoring to happen. Maybe you produce us a monthly report that says, here's the social mentions.
Or maybe some organisations don't want to know either, unless something goes wrong, but maybe is that a good tactic, is it not? But maybe is it where people say, well, I'm not really interested in private life as long as it doesn't impact, and if there's no impact and nothing's happening, then we're okay.
I know.
But then they maybe just have to deal with the things that come to light, whether it's someone calling in a complaint, or something's happened, or it's offended someone, but by that point it's maybe too late. But it's quite interesting to know, it would be great for the audience, like, are you using anything? How are you keeping on top of these things yourself? Yeah, it'd be great to get some thoughts from people, just to say this is how we go about it, because you're right. I think you could have, I'm quite relaxed. If people, you know, we've always had a policy, we're quite relaxed here, you know, we want people to be as I want to be as inclusive as possible, so let them, as an individual, so let them do what they need to do until it goes wrong. It's like this, I used, you know, working in PR, you would always have a disaster recovery plan or emergency recovery plan, and you need that, and more often than not you think, well, I'll never need it because it's, you know, it doesn't really matter. I'll do that next week, until it goes wrong, and you need things in place. So I suppose it's about having everything in place to say, you know, we're not going to be over the top here in terms of monitoring, but we want to have the policies in place that know, you know, reputational damage can go so quickly, can't it? So.
Yeah, our usual top 3 tips then. So what are your top 3 tips for helping us manage our social media in the company?
Pull that policy out with the dust on it, get the dust off.
Get the dust off.
And is it still fit for purpose?
Aye.
Like, so be careful if you are mentioning the channels, like we said.
Yeah.
You might not want to do that because it might restrict you, because again, next week you'll probably need to pull it back out again, because I'd like to know how many companies that do talk about them have threads now included, the new ones. So so review your policy, make sure it's completely bespoke.
Yeah.
To your business, the risk to your business, the risk to the individual as well.
Yeah.
And third top tip would be just be mindful that we are still wanting to treat people as individuals, but there is that certain level of professionalism. So does your policy just go as far as it has to, and it doesn't restrict too much more either as well?
Yeah. It's a fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ideal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening today. Please get in touch if you want to find out more on today's subject.
And if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.